Well, you've hung around all day, and it's been a great day, hasn't it? Really interesting day. I've learned lots, and it's been fantastic to hear all the presentations. Diane's one really appeals to me, my interest in young people with cerebral palsy, as you will see, will come through. I'm going to be quick, because I know it's the end of the day.
Graveyard shift.
The graveyard shift, that's where I live. But the themes that have come through for me today were around health inequalities. Also think about health, social care and education. I think well-being, it's really good to hear that, quality of life and well-being. Those of us as rehab professionals who work with people who have chronic, lifelong conditions, really interested in well-being. And also lived experience. I was listening for that throughout the day, and it was there. There's quite a lot of lived experience, curiosity about lived experience, and crucially, the patient-public involvement. You'll see that that was key for me in my research journey. Now, I'd be very happy to talk to you about my PhD, my research. I teach in the School of Sport and Health Sciences now, occupational therapy students, physiotherapy students, nursing students occasionally. And when we come over to Falmer, we'll be much more integrated. And I think that's the way for the future, certainly for good rehabilitation. But my research journey, and I was asked by Kate Galvin, I think we all have been, to just talk through our research journey, maybe to inspire occupational therapists, physiotherapists, nurses, social workers, teachers to think about research opportunities. Well, I graduated a long time ago, my first degree in broad social sciences, very happy undergraduate student, met my wife, got married, my first son was born. Then I decided I wanted a career initially in social work, started thinking about teaching, physiotherapy, found out about occupational therapy by accident, and started my postgraduate diploma at the University of Brighton. Great decision on my part. Really enjoyed that shift in my career actually. And I was 30 then. So, you know, I'd had some life experience and I wanted to do something very different with my life. Started working as an occupational therapist, moved to the Midlands. My second son was born, still married. And then we came back down to the south coast of England, and I got an opportunity to teach occasionally at the University of Brighton as a visiting lecturer. That's a really great way in if you are a nurse or an occupational therapist, a physio, and you want to get teaching experience. It's a wonderful opportunity to spend time with academics and crucially with students. I saw somebody here from East Sussex County Council earlier. Now, I worked for East Sussex County Council for 12 years. That's where my career has been in social care, really, adult social care, children's social care. And I was supported to complete my MSc while I worked for them. So again, employers may well support you in your career aspirations. I got an opportunity to work at the University of Brighton in 2011, 1.5 days a week, and 3 days a week then I worked in practice. That was quite hard actually, because there were two big jobs. But increasingly, my contract at the University of Brighton increased, and I reduced my contract with East Sussex County Council. So much so that I became full-time in 2016, and I started my PhD. Mainly because the opportunity arose. Since then, there's a PhD by publication, which I think is a fantastic route. I followed the more traditional path. And in 2021, I became Dr. Boyle. So a round of applause for me. My wife and my children, they're always calling me Dr. Boyle. So they remind me how to but it's been great for my career. I'm now the course leader of the MSc pre-registration course at the University of Brighton, and I'm very content and happy. But as I've got older, I should say I've got a career development grant from the Royal College of Occupational Therapists, and my supervisors here, Kate Galvin, Gideon Boskowski, Graham Stewart. So I had a physiotherapy and nursing team as my supervisors. Really, really brilliant supervisors. But as I became curious about my PhD and my research question and what I was interested in, and my social sciences background as an undergraduate, I was interested in power, stigma, discrimination, and so forth. And then during my occupational therapy training, I became much more interested in anatomy. And I teach anatomy now, and I like to think I have some expertise around anatomy. And those of us who work with children and young people with cerebral palsy. We know we can support the body to grow, we can support young people to have meaningful lives. But what do we know about their lived experience? What do we know about their families? What do we know about their aspirations in life in terms of forming friendships and career aspiration? This is what I became interested in, qualitative research. So this was the background to my study, crucially to be informed by public consultation. I'm not going to be talking about my research in great detail, but one of the strengths of my PhD study, I think, was good, meaningful public consultation. And I'm really pleased to hear that thing throughout today. Participants, I had 6 participants, spent a lot of time with them, got them to write their stories. These young people living with cerebral palsy had gone through that transition from adolescence to adulthood. Spent time with them, carrying out an interview, a closed, structured interview, or we think about a semi-structured interview where we're assisting people to tell their stories, or we can skillfully sit back and really listen. And that was my study. My supervisors are not here. They are eminent phenomenologists. They trained me to take an open mind, to sit back, to try and put to one side our expertise. I found that really hard. I like to think I've got expertise. But actually, it's our participants, the people who we're gathering data from in qualitative research, arguably, who can throw light on a phenomenon that we're interested in. That is the crux of interpretive phenomenology, I would say. So what does my study mean? Well, if you really want to read it, it is published in an open access journal. PhD is available on the University of Brighton website. But there's something there about the themes that were coming through from young adults living with cerebral palsy in the United Kingdom. And there are no studies that explore this phenomenon in the United Kingdom. We've got studies in Europe, the rest of Europe. We've got studies in North America. We know in Northern Europe there's very good quality of care. Southern Europe, the role of the family is much more relevant. And in North America, the funding landscape is very different to here in the UK. But the themes that were coming through from the young people that I spent time with, had the privilege of spending time with, was about that uncertainty in our life. We might all think about our own adolescence and uncertainty in our lives as we grew into adults, what happened during that period. There's something about being seen permanently by other people. Now, maybe some of us have disabilities, maybe some of us have invisible disabilities. I like to think of myself as an able-bodied person, but I've never been a wheelchair user. And what do I know about being a permanent wheelchair user? Well, this is the world that the young people were living in. This was their life world, which I was open-minded to. And then there was something coming through about what brings sanctuary to the young people's lives that I was interested in. Spending time with the family, a supportive family, being seen and heard and having a presence in the world. Well, we might all think, what does that mean? And some phenomenologists say we should stop there. We should be open-minded. We should listen to the data as it is presented by the people that we interview and the phenomena that we're interested in and trying to throw light on that. There are others who argue, especially for healthcare professionals, to actually be assertive, to give ourselves permission to interpret what we're finding within the findings and have a view. Well, if you really want to read my PhD or the publication, you will see I do argue for ways in which health, social care and education to improve. Snapshot of those recommendations here, and it might seem quite obvious, but we are a long way from having integrated services in the United Kingdom. I remember when I worked with the Sussex County Council 15 years ago, talking about integrated health and social care, let alone education. We are quite some way from a coordinator to help families navigate the incredible complex pathways within health and social care and education. And as Diane said, when children, young people reach 18, there's a precipice there. We're falling off a cliff as children all of a sudden become adults. And that's where the next recommendation, again embedded within literature, embedded within a systematic review that I carried out, which has been published as well, metaethnography, around the qualitative literature. And that is for us as health, social care and education professionals to really think about the family and how we work with the family and the child's place within the family, and in fact with families working in a functional, healthy, productive way, but at the same time young people are wanting independence. Now we might work with able-bodied young people who quite in a very very typical way will want to reach independence. But actually there's something going on, arguably, with young people living with quite high levels of disability who want independence, but also really appreciate the support of a family and a wider family network. It doesn't mean they don't want independence, but it's a longer journey. And that's the last recommendation, which is about thinking about young people's lives as they experience healthcare services, social care and education, with human rights in mind and with disability rights in mind. And seeing that period, there's quite a lot in the literature actually, in terms of the extended period of time in which people living with disabilities become adults, mature into productive and functioning members of society. So they were broadly my 3 recommendations, and I would love to have a deeper discussion and hear your views as well. I'm mindful of time. So I'll just say, if anybody is a nurse here, or an occupational therapist, a physiotherapist, a social worker, or a teacher, you know, there's opportunities to carry out doctoral research. I think my colleagues here have given you some examples. I've talked about the pathway that I took. None of it was really planned, it was rather fortuitous. Opportunities came my way, and I would really encourage you to do that as well. For me, although I've gone from being a social scientist to being somebody with a deep interest in anatomy and teaching anatomy, I've gone back to being a social scientist in many ways. I'm thinking much more now as an occupational therapist and an academic, but with human rights in mind, with disability rights in mind, and with some humility actually, about who's got the expertise around living with a condition such as cerebral palsy. Hence the public involvement element of my research, and which I'm pleased to hear has been a main theme of today. So thanks for listening.